What if Deku had matter manipulation? Part 5. Now, before I start this what if off, I would like to explain what Izuku's quirk is, as a lot of you guys didn't know what his quirk was in the comment section of Part 4. I know that's my bad, I didn't explain it as much as I should have in Part 1, so now I'm going to explain it to you all who just don't understand or don't know what it is. So basically, Izuku can change or alter pretty much everything. As if he saw a tree, he could change it into a bush. If he saw a person, he can change it into a bird. That's pretty much what matter manipulation is. He also has some sort of side power that was basically hooked onto his matter manipulation, which allows him to create portals and do stupid stuff like that kind of makes him a little bit overpowered. He just hasn't gotten into any situations where he's had to use his full power, as he only knows a fraction of what his power is. It's like humans, how they don't know the full extent of the ocean. Izuku doesn't know his full extent of the powers that he has. So, he hasn't even used all of his powers, and there's probably going to be powers that he has I'm just not even going to mention in this series. That's basically how powerful it is. And I hope you guys also like these longer parts, or not longer parts, but the longer series, as I know a lot of you guys wanted me to do longer series instead of short 4-part series when I went really, really quickly and just didn't do any conversations with people. So I really hope you guys do enjoy these longer series that take up to 10 to 11 parts, or it might even take longer. I'm not quite sure yet, and it's taking quite slow, saying we're only at the USJ. So now let's get into this what if. The Nomu would be left at the USJ with no orders from Shigaraki, as we cut to the villain bar/base, as All For One would then realize something. He would turn to Kurogiri and ask him a simple question. Kurogiri, do you know if Shigaraki happened to give the Nomu an answer before he was captured? Kurogiri would look down, thinking hard, as he would then come up with an answer. No, sir, I don't think he ever did. He just got captured and never gave an answer before that. This is bad, All For One would say, as we cut back to the USJ, as All Might would burst through the doors, and it would see, or All Might would see, a blank Nomu staring off into space. It had no orders and could basically do nothing. It was just sitting there, awaiting command, and with no command, it was easily captured by the heroes and police that arrived on the scene. Izuku, back there, would be thanked for his heroics in capturing Shigaraki and also telling All Might to come over to the USJ while also taking Aizawa to the medbay. This was crazy how he did it so fast and only using his teleportation quirk. It was just insane to them. As Izuku would be walking back to his house after being dropped off by the bus, Izuku would get to his house to see his mother holding a paper that had just arrived in the mail. It was from a hero agency. It was strange to her. She didn't know how they found their address. I mean, it was a UA address, which is, there's a very few. And so when they looked at it, it was from a hero agency, which just happened to be Endeavor's hero agency. Endeavor had heard about Izuku and wondered if he could somehow tutor Izuku into becoming a number 1 star, as he heard of Izuku and didn't know if Todoroki could keep up with Izuku, as he had heard about Izuku's quirk, something that could manipulate almost anything, as Endeavor pretty much wanted to know if he could teach Izuku into becoming the number 1 hero, and Endeavor would be praised for somehow teaching this crazy student. So, in the mail, they would end up receiving this letter as Endeavor, very cockily, would state how he has the best hero agency and could teach Izuku the ways of being a hero without Izuku having to be trained at that phony of a hero school being UA. Now, Inko reading this would have easily just discarded it, but it was addressed to Izuku and didn't want to discard it. She hadn't even opened it yet. As soon as Izuku had read the first word, being Endeavor, Izuku tossed it in the trash can. Izuku had never really liked Endeavor to begin with. Izuku has a very analytic mind, and since he has a very analytic mind, he was able to just see how much of an idiot and rude behavior that Endeavor has. Izuku didn't like Endeavor because of it. Endeavor wasn't really nice to his fans, even though those were the people that supported him the most. Izuku would just pretty much hate him. He never hated Todoroki. Izuku actually found it quite strange how Todoroki didn't take after Endeavor, as Izuku just didn't bother to look into it, even though Todoroki was the son of an overall just person that had so many people that hated him. Isuku would go back into UA the next day after the USJ incident, as Ozawa, now wrapped up like a mummy, would then tell the students that they may go back home, as they have to have 2 weeks off of school for UA to just wonder how the villains were able to get these papers that allowed them to know that something was going on with the USJ. They had no clue how the villains were able to coordinate an attack, so they called off school for the next 2 weeks so they could find out how the villains got this information in their hands. One of the teachers would end up coming with the conclusion that there is a traitor among them and that they now have to go through the process of interrogating every single student of Class 1A that knew about the trip 2 weeks in advance. And if they found anyone suspicious, they were going to be brought in for further questioning. However, the day after, when they brought everyone in, they pretty much got no leads. No one seemed suspicious. They were all acting like true people that wanted to be heroes. And since the teachers couldn't figure out who was lying and who wasn't, they just called it off. They had to research it more. They pretty much had no other leads or anything because all the students answered the questions truthfully, at least to what UA thought. However, if you're thinking about the police officer that All Might's friends with, he's gonna play a role later on in the story, as All Might wasn't told about this questioning, so he didn't have the opportunity to bring in the police chief, and even though Nezu might know him, Nezu just didn't think of it as it was in the heat of the moment, as all the teachers were pretty much heated and angry because someone came on their campus, their turf, and tried to kill heroes and students. That is just a big no-no in their eyes, and they were all mad. They were angry, and were thinking in the heat of the moment, wanting to find out. They wanted to know who this bastard that did this was. Sure, they had Shigaraki, but they weren't going to question him yet, as they were waiting to see if anyone would turn themselves in. And nothing happened. So 1 week would pass from there, as they would then go to Shigaraki, who had kind of been forgotten about until then. Sure, they knew he was there, but they gave him little food so that he might cough up an answer. To them, he was a low-life thug that tried to attack UA. They weren't giving him any mercy, basically. So, when they came to him, they thought he would just cough up the answers without even giving any of a fight. So when they asked him who the UA traitor was, Shigaraki only shrugged. He didn't care for their answers, and he knew he wasn't going to cough up any of the answers, as if he did, he would probably be killed by All for One and have his quirk taken from him. So Shigaraki just didn't care. He thought of himself as All for One's number one person, and the number one leader of the League of Villains, but he couldn't really do anything. He was stuck in a jail cell with cork erasing handcuffs on. It's not like he could call him with some magic cork that he just had. He was stuck there and had to try and wait and hope all for one or Kirigiri could come and save him. And so when the questioning ended, Shigaraki gave no answers and no leads and didn't give off any signs of anything that could help UA. So by then, Shigaraki was just left there and given food. They couldn't do anything else with him. They thought, he's not going to answer any of our questions either way. There's really no point in asking any more questions, and we should just leave him there. And that's what they did. Isuku would come back into UA after those 2 weeks would pass and would find out that they are going to be doing the sports festival in just 1 month, and that they're having another 1 month off to train for that sports festival. And that's where I'm going to leave it off, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy What If Deku Had Matter Manipulation Part 2, or Part 5. Now, this is going to be the last part until Monday, as tomorrow and Sunday is going to be What If Deku Had Air and Water Manipulation. At least that's what was that's what was leading in the poll I put up in my community tab. So that's the What If that's going to be coming out on Saturday and Sunday. And from then on, they're going to be alternating days. So on Monday, it's going to be part 6 of this, and Tuesday, part 3 of the next What If, and then part 7 of this. So yeah, I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.